who the are you? What are you doing here? I've tried to film this video a few times now alone, and so much happened. Struggled a little bit, got some stuff out, but I thought that it would be more helpful to just talk this through with a friend. I left YouTube months ago and kind of fell off the face of the earth. There was a rumor that began to circulate that I joined a cult. And I did. And that's how I know Tessa.
Me too. Just not the one that has been rumoured.
Not the one that people thought I joined.
You like to keep it original. Never do what they expect.
I've asked Tessa to help me tell my story because I think describing it to a friend is a lot easier. We'll get to how we know each other and what we experienced together, but first, starting backwards. You know some of this, but for the sake of content.
I'm an actress.
Act, bitch.
Yeah.
Long story short. And then tells like an hour story. Yeah. 4 years ago.
It was a crisp Tuesday morning.
I started making a YouTube series called Revealing Our Secrets when I would read people's secrets. I loved it. They loved it. Views reflected as much.
What could possibly go wrong?
What could possibly go wrong? Everything. I had spent 14 years, more or less, making a new video every week. And so when I found a format that I could rely on, I relied on it too much. Like I sucked that river dry. I killed that cat.
But also, why wouldn't you continue something that people are enjoying watching and that is causing you success?
Because I started hating making them.
Yeah.
Like I would sit down in front of the camera and it was like pushing a boulder up a hill. So while I'm in the midst of realizing that I hate filming this series, I sell it to become a podcast. And I sold it to a production company that I knew I shouldn't have worked with. I heard bad things from multiple people, and then I went with them anyways because they offered me a juicy, juicy paycheck.
It's hard to resist that juice.
It's hard. I was thirsty.
Yeah. Girls gotta drink.
So I, against my best judgment, decided to go with this company, and my intuition was correct, as it always is.
Yeah.
And I had a really bad time working there. I feel weird talking about this on camera because I'm not here to like bash this company. It's just a part of my story. And so I'm gonna talk honestly about it. It was a really hard experience because I didn't feel respected there. I didn't feel like there was clear communication. There were a lot of people that I liked there, and there were pieces of it that were good. But I wasn't getting paid.
Yeah.
Still haven't gotten paid for basically half of the work that I did there. On top of that, it was really hard to enjoy the work I was doing because the environment wasn't necessarily conducive to feeling totally comfortable. I was sitting behind a glass wall and there were just producers on the other end like tapping away at their computers. I felt like a show pony.
Yeah.
I would go into work and be like, I hope I can be authentic today.
Yes.
It was hard.
Yeah.
Also at the time, I don't think I necessarily had the tools to engage with so many people's traumas and secrets without it kind of permeating into my psyche. It was heavy. Midway through the project, they fired my producer, Amanda, who I loved working with, and I was just sort of expected to keep the show going on my own without having her to like bounce off of.
Without any pay.
And without any pay! Yeah.
Isn't it the irony of they sucked you in with a big number and then they just didn't pay you?
I think that's part of the lesson too, somewhere in there.
Yeah.
So I wasn't having a great time and expected that I needed to continue to do so. I didn't even consider that I had the option to leave. There was some stuff that went on within the company that isn't really relevant to talk about, but ultimately it meant that some people were getting fired and some shows were being canceled, and word around the block was that mine was going to be one of them, and I was like, hallelujah. Obviously a little nervous. You know how sometimes even when something's bad for you, change is scary?
Yeah.
I heard through word of mouth that my show was going to be canceled, but nobody told me.
Yeah.
Because of the way things were being conducted, I think it was like, let's get her to do what we need her to do, and then we'll tell her. So basically the very last podcast episode that I shot, I knew it was going to be canceled, but I was not supposed to know that it was going to be canceled. So I was like playing pretend.
Yeah.
Just so happens, the night before, I had a run-in with a cult. I went on Meetup, I went to a meditation thing, it was culty, they invited me to a potluck, and I wanted to go, just for shits and giggles. So I told
For the story.
Yeah, for the story, for the bit. So I told that story on the podcast.
I escaped a cult yesterday. A cult? A cult.
But I also told it fully intentionally, knowing it would be my last episode and that I didn't know when I would post next, and that would sort of like plant a seed for people to wonder where I was.
Yeah.
It was a bit. It's funny.
Fair enough.
But what I did not expect was that it would mean people were going to be worried about me. I didn't like maliciously want people to be concerned of my well-being.
No.
I just wanted like a little cult play. You know what I mean?
Is that so wrong?
I dropped that story in that episode.
I was actually thinking of going to the potluck. No.
Purposely. I wanted people to think maybe I joined a cult. Didn't think people were going to worry. They ended up worrying. It got out of hand. It got out of hand.
There's this YouTuber and podcaster I've been listening to that said they were going to go meet up with a cult and then dropped off the face of the earth. People are worried. I'm worried. Like, I'm just like, this is just kind of odd. Like, don't you think this is kind of odd?
I just got an email from Time Magazine. Hello, my name is, and I am a culture reporter at Time Magazine. I am reaching out because fans of Alex Weiss have expressed concern on social media about not hearing from Weiss after she attended an event hosted by what her fans have described as a cult. She has been silent on social media for months, and fans are wondering where she is. I'm wondering if Weiss or a representative for Weiss would like to provide a comment or statement regarding her prolonged absence from social media. Any comment or statement that could be provided would be greatly appreciated. Oh my god. So the podcast gets canceled. I'm reflecting. How did I get myself in this situation, right? Because I don't want to be the victim or like, this company made me feel like this and these people did this to me. It's like, how did I get in a position where I allowed myself to be treated this way? It was very evident that it was just a large mirror to a pattern that I've engaged in my whole life, which is workaholism. Treating myself like a robot that can just go, 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 go.
Yeah.
There are literally videos of me on the internet. The same week I was going through a death in the family or a breakup. My well-being did not matter.
No.
And so, of course, other people were able to treat me that way because that's how I treated myself.
Exactly.
I realized that the pattern that this situation was teaching me to break was workaholism, compulsive productivity, basically putting all things above myself.
Yeah.
And I knew exactly in order to break that pattern, that meant I had to stop working, show myself that I'm not going to disintegrate into thin air if I'm not working.
Build your worth from a more stable foundation.
I knew what I wanted to do with my time off, but I was still scared to do it. Like, intuitively, I knew what I wanted to do, although that doesn't mean decisions are easy still. There was a lot of, like, conversational fear. I discovered the difference between fear and intuition. Intuition's like, I want to do this.
Yes.
Fear is like, and here's 16 reasons why you maybe shouldn't.
Yeah.
Very languagey.
Yes.
A lot of chat that fear does. I wanted to go to Peru.
What a decision.
To work with plants. I had gone to Peru a few months prior while I was working on the podcast, and I had done 1 week at a center working with ayahuasca, and it was the fucking worst week of my life, but it was also the best week of my life. You understand.
It'll do that.
Yeah, it'll do that. I had so much reverence for the process, for the medicine, for the Shipibo people. My reverence only grew in the months that followed when I saw how much that experience started changing me fundamentally.
Yeah,
to your core. To scratch the surface right now, it was just sort of neuroses that I'd always had started shedding off. Unconscious patterns were becoming conscious. It was even harder to do the podcast because it was so out of alignment with me.
Yes.
And I was honoring and loving myself enough to stop doing things that weren't good for me, but I was contractually bound to this.
Yeah.
All the while, I just started learning more about ayahuasca and like entheogenic plants and experiences and integration. And one of the things that I found to be the most interesting is in ayahuasca ceremonies, some people don't even drink ayahuasca. The purpose is that the shaman is singing medicine music that they are channeling from the plants. She knows this. I'm just talking at you.
It's a nice refresher, to be honest.
That's true. So my question was obviously like, how the hell do they channel music through plants?
Yeah.
Absolutely, what the fuck?
Yeah.
And then the answer being master plant dietas. They do a process called a master plant dieta, and then they learn through the plants. And that I could do that. You can learn and heal others.
Yes.
Through plants.
Yeah.
What the fuck? Like
channeling that intelligence.
That's crazy. So I knew I wanted to do a master plant dieta, and the recommended time is at least 1 month. I knew that in order to do it, I would have to dedicate a month of my life, which really in hindsight is not a lot, but it felt like a lot at the time. So I decided to go to Peru. Enter Tessa.
Stage left.
This is really why it's valuable to have you on camera, because talking about this experience is really challenging when it feels like I'm just talking at people. Like there's people in my life where there's a disconnect because there's no way to understand what went on there and how it changed us. And this really does sound like a cult recruitment.
I was just about to say, there's almost the prerequisite, because we're so passionate about what it's done for us in our lives and the way that we want to effectively communicate how much to the core it's done. It does somewhat come off as like, a recruitment video. It's because once you found something that has changed your life so fundamentally and like actively has made your life go from something that is a struggle to be alive, to life as a gift and you're grateful and stuff like that, of course you want the people that you don't even know to find that answer as well. And if that's a cult, then so be it. Yeah.
It's interesting because a big part of the definition of a cult is a group of people with over admiration or affinity towards something or someone. And you and I and the people that we met at this center have an affinity, a love for ayahuasca, for the other plants that we worked with, and for the maestro we worked with. It's not like we had to give collateral.
They heal through love. We joke about it being a cult for the gag, but there is no intention behind anything but healing for them. And I think that's what makes us even more passionate about how much it's done for us, because it's come from a pure place. Certainly over my time there, I saw how many transformations happened, that time and time again people come in broken and they leave
new people.
It's
one thing to feel myself change completely, but to watch so many people I came to care about come and go, healing physical ailments that Western medicine tells you you can't heal, or it would take years or thousands, hundreds of thousands of dollars. It's arduous. Like, nope, you can heal that in 4 weeks working with plant medicine. Coming into their confidence.
Coming into alignment. For me especially, I came from a place that I was so depressed. I was so out of alignment with my life, and it's almost a reset of everything. You physically cleanse out a lot. Like, we know ayahuasca is not this pleasant, like, psychedelic, oh, we're in the jungle in nature. I mean, it can be this blissful experience, but there's a lot of purging. It's work. And spiritually and physically, it's getting rid of all that shite that we've built up over time.
It's a hard process.
Yeah, it's the hardest thing I've ever done.
Me too. And also, I guess we should explain, like, for dummies, not literal dummies, but like for dummies,
the book,
what we're even talking about or what happened.
Sure.
Ayahuasca, a tea, a brew, a psychedelic.
Yeah, a boiled down viscous substance that the more you drink it, the more it tastes like fucking shite.
It tastes horrible.
It tastes horrible, which is the point of it.
There's a symbolism in the fact that it tastes bad.
Yeah, got to get past that.
You got to get past the hard stuff. It is something that you drink in a ceremonial setting. Oftentimes you will purge in various different ways, and it leads you to expanded states of consciousness. That looks so different for everyone. Like, for you had visions.
I have visions, yeah.
I don't have visions. Everything is visceral. I feel everything. But that's not even, that scratches the surface of what we were doing there.
Barely.
You know, because we were working with other plants too. Part of what a master plant dieta is working with non-psychoactive plants.
Yes.
A master plant dieta is getting your body quiet enough that it can learn from the plants that you're drinking, which means we were not consuming salt,
sugar,
dairy,
alcohol, drugs, masturbation, sex,
cold beverages,
chilies, spice,
fermented foods,
fats.
And it was like a holiday if they ever gave us chicken. And also, most days we were only eating 2 meals a day. We were doing a lot of fasting.
Yeah.
But it's also like you're not really supposed to consume media, the less music and podcasts and content and even books, the better. You're trying to get as quiet as possible. And then we also spent time in isolation, not talking to anybody. I spent 12 days in isolation.
You had a long run.
While we're in isolation or during other periods there, we don't drink ayahuasca, we drink non-psychoactive plants, and because our bodies are quiet enough, those plants are able to teach us things. And they teach us in different ways.
Yeah.
Like, I learned through my dream state. I was told things in my dreams.
Yeah.
You were as well?
No, I didn't. I never had vivid dreams when I drank all the plants. In my conscious thought, things were more clear. I had clarity. Things that seemed complicated to me previously were like, just do this. I'm like, oh, thank you. But yeah, no dream state for me, which is interesting because I'm much more visual with ayahuasca. There are no rules in the plant world.
It impacts everyone differently. There were moments for me, like one of the most profound moments of my entire experience. I was sitting in bed having such a hard time because I was in isolation and I had met so many beautiful people that I wanted to connect with, yourself included. And I just felt lonely and I was so attached to the idea of being with everyone. And then I just had the thought, like, wow, attachment really is the root of suffering. Like, it's a sentiment. We all hear it. And it was like this wave came over me where not only did I know it, like I knew it to my core. And then for the days that followed, I started understanding all the different things in my life that I was attached to and then being able to let them go. It's such a thing that is so,
it's so far beyond the conceptual words that we're saying. It's concepts that you know and seem simple. It's like attachment is the root of suffering. It's like, well, yeah, but it travels down into your body. It's a feeling, it's through the heart, and it's all these fucking cliches, but there's a reason they're cliches, because it's true.
Most people in ceremonies end up coming out being like, oh, the answer is love, and we're all connected.
Yeah.
It's like,
That's kind of...
true.
Yeah, it's this knowing in your being, not just
that you can carry with you for the rest of your life.
Yes. The thing about coming out of ceremonies and thinking like it's all love is because ultimately that's what we want to feel, and not only for other people but for ourselves. That was a big thing that I saw. The gift that was given to a lot of people is self-love and wanting to change your life.
Enough self-love to actually enact the changes that are scary that you are being shown to change.
Because also with the amount of purging and, you know, ceremonies can be tough. Even if it was scary or overwhelming or disorientating, you knew that the plants were doing it out of love, weirdly. You sort of know that on some level that is beyond your understanding and capability of translating into a language that we can even understand, something is working for our greater good, and the trust there. And then the visceral changes. You come out of that ceremony, even the next morning, and you feel different. So you're like, well, time and time again, it shows you that it works, even if it's beyond your understanding or comfort. And comfort is the big thing.
We'll never understand, even scratch the surface of understanding what taking consciousness medicine means or what it's really doing. But wow, I will forever be
so grateful.
So grateful for it.
Yeah.
The way, I still have no idea what the fuck ever happened. Like when we were in ceremony and you were too deep in the medicine and they were like, eat these salted mangoes.
Yeah.
7.
Yeah, I was just about to say the specific number of it.
And the way, you know,
the sucking out of the head and then throwing up for you.
This is something that I'm hesitant to share.
Yeah.
Because of how crazy it sounds, but I'm going to say it and who knows if I'll keep it in.
Yeah.
Did she ever do that for you?
Yeah. My last ceremony.
It was my second ceremony. She just sucks, like puts her mouth here, sucks in here and here, and then immediately throws up. And then I get up and I feel different.
Yeah.
Like lighter than I've ever felt in my whole life. Like she took something out of me that I didn't even know was there. Yeah. She purged for us sometimes.
Yes.
That's like selfless work.
3 times a week, every week, for dozens of people, and new people coming in, new energies, time and time and time again. She shows up, her dad shows up, her children are involved with just being around all of these people that are coming in for healing. They are showing us love. They dedicate so much more than just 3 nights a week, because we're living on the same grounds as them. If you've got a headache, they just whip you up a little something, you drink it, and bada boom, bada boom.
One time I had a headache and she just poured it over my head.
Oh, I haven't heard of that.
For me to feel better. There's so many different plants and ceremonies and pieces to it, right? Like there were the plant baths. There was cacao ceremony. There was San Pedro Day. Plant saunas. There were things that not everyone did because it depended on their conditions. And there was so much suffering.
Certainly for my ceremonies, I'm going to say 95% of them were horrifically tough.
Scary.
Disorientated. Confused.
Overwhelmed.
Like sick.
In pain.
Yes.
Puking.
Yeah.
I don't say this to deter anyone. It is just true.
Yeah.
That it is real hard work. But what we got from it, I would do it 1,000,000 times again.
It's the best decision I've ever made, and I think the point of it is that it is work, but it's purging out all of the suffering that we carry through our everyday lives anyway. We suffer all the time. It's just a more heightened, intense suffering in order to release it. You're purging it out because you're getting it out of your system. And then, say, after ceremonies, when we all used to then talk, it was this blissful state. The love that you feel for one another then, and the connections and the family that we built, is so much more heightened because we had shared that suffering. And I'm going to do it for the rest of my life.
I bet you a question that would come up for someone is like, well, isn't this just a drug addiction? You're going to do it for the rest of your life?
I'm going to do it for the rest of my life, but how it's different from an addiction is that you also want that space in between in order to enact everything that you've learned, because there's no point. I found it really hard to leave the centre because I was there for 3 months, but there's only so much theory that you can do when you're like, you've got to just get out and start
Practice.
Yes. And that's what the fun is, like seeing how much you've changed from before and after, having these patterns and situations crop up where you're like, okay, I'm aware that this is how I was doing it before, but I have this awareness and I can put into practice everything that ayahuasca gave me, everything that I learned there, and that's the beauty of it.
What you receive is knowledge, and in order to turn it into wisdom, you need to match that with experience.
Yeah.
So that brings us to now, which is integration, and they say like 80% of the work is when you are integrating it into your life. So like I think of one example. For me, I've always had this race against time. I'm never comfortable in the moment. I need to get somewhere else. I need to move quickly. And then in one of my ceremonies, I experienced time as vertical. Like we've heard this idea, like time isn't real. It's all happening at once. And I don't even know what that means, but I was shown what it means. And now for me, one of my things that I'm learning in my life is learning how to slow down. Even with not immediately going back on YouTube and working, I'm being taught that time is not this sort of horizontal enemy that I have to race against.
And it's about being present, I think. If you're always looking for the next thing, you're not in now.
Ayahuasca definitely teaches you about presence as well, because you have to sit with what's coming up and surrender. Because in life, when you don't surrender, things become more difficult.
Things can be as hard as you can make them. That sounds really wrong. If you were that's what ayahuasca taught me. That if you were sat there thinking, I hate this is uncomfortable, I want this to end, I want to go, it's going to be tough. But the acceptance of what is takes away all that noise. And it's the same with the noise of life. Yeah, you can be annoyed that you're stuck in traffic, or annoyed that Susan spilled her coffee on your table or something like that. Or you can just be like, oh, that's happening. Fucking Susan. I've told her 1,000,000 times. Things are always going to be uncomfortable, but the acceptance of what is
makes it so much less uncomfortable. Speaking of discomfort, something that is challenging after going through an experience like this is reintegrating into reality, into the real world. It's challenging.
It's especially difficult when you are coming back to the same house and surroundings and life that you were in when you were, say, more unconscious, or in your patterns that weren't in alignment with what's best for you, your highest good, whatever you want to call it. Your environment is cues for behaviour a lot of the time. So coming back into this with the core of you being different but everything else staying the same is, again, an adjustment period of alignment. And I think perhaps that's what you're finding is your challenge right now, that your core has been realigned, and now everything else has to kind of follow.
Yeah, I came home and it felt like I was... It still does. It feels like I'm like living in a home that doesn't belong to me anymore. You know, friendships that just fell away like that. It's really irony because I feel connected to everyone and everything, and I feel like I can tolerate things so easily, even if I'm, around something that's not pleasurable, but I can't help but to feel such a disconnect from so many parts of my life that existed before.
It is so ironic, isn't it? You learn that you're connected to everything and you come back and you feel disconnected. I hadn't actually really thought of that so much.
Something that I think about a lot, but I'm letting it go more and more, is proving myself and proving that this is real. to my family of like MIT graduates, science heads, the idea that plants have consciousness and can teach us things is like blasphemy. It's crazy.
Yeah.
And so I have this shame I'm working through around it, where I feel like I have to prove something, or even making this video, it seems very, very vulnerable.
Yeah.
But seeing how much it's changed my life and changed your life and changed other people's lives around us, I'm not gonna not speak out of fear of not being understood.
I was certainly I've come from a skeptical science background, and I struggled to even connect with the plants my first couple of weeks there, because the whole setting and concept of it seemed so far-fetched. And so I've been there, because also you don't want to be sucked in by some snake oil and be the sucker that kind of fell for it. That was definitely a fear that I had. I think it's important sometimes for people to have an air of skepticism around this, not to just blindly believe just because we're saying it now and we're like, oh my god, this has changed my life, for someone to be like, yeah, because I went through that process of being so skeptical about it, the belief that I have in it now, the trust, has such a strong foundation.
I guess this brings us back to the whole storyline. Well, there's actually something in between that I forgot to mention.
Oh, right.
Part of my intention of going was to figure out what I was gonna do with my career. As it goes, we think we know what we need, but it's so much deeper than that.
Yeah.
That's not what I got there. I was taught how to live, but the week after I left, I stayed in Peru, you know this, for another month, with friends that we had made. You stayed at the center.
Yeah.
You know that. Because people need different time there based on what they're dealing with, which is fascinating.
Exactly.
Everyone has their own prescription, which is very cool. Once I had let go of the attachment to needing to know what I was going to do next creatively, I was sitting in a cacao ceremony with our best friends.
Let's do some more of that.
Just talking with them about doing longer dietas, and the idea of doing a docuseries there came up, and it felt like my life purpose was handed to me. It's like, how can I use the skills that I have and the interests that I have in a way that can help people? It's the perfect formula.
Yes.
Obviously, you don't have to drink ayahuasca or take master plants to heal or to spiritually awaken. There are other ways in. It really worked for us.
Yeah.
And what I noticed was that even just being there and learning from people who are engaging with the process can teach so much. And that's why I think the docuseries is so beautiful, because it doesn't tell you have to. It says, here's an option, and also look what can be learned through it. The people we met, I've never heard stories like that in my life.
I know. What a portfolio.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
People healing Crohn's disease, holes in their body.
Yeah, hernias.
Finding forgiveness for things that are unforgivable.
Unforgivable things.
Speaking with such compassion and peace after enduring things that were I've never even brushed up against in my life.
And seeing again how much their lives were changed.
And then the way people also were able to rid themselves of the shackles of our modern world was really impressive. Giving away all their money to, not that you have to do that, but to just live in the jungle and help people. I think that's part of why, without even taking the medicine, being there was so profound, because you were able to see the parts of yourself that other people have worked on, and then it paves a little bit of the way forward.
Definitely.
What happened was I then came to Los Angeles, and I shifted all of my attachment to other things that I had let go of onto making sure this project was going to happen. I got here and I was like, I took like 10 classes, and I was like learning Spanish, and I'm still learning Spanish, but I was doing it in such a desperate, scared, attached way. And that's what we were talking about with integration, is that you're not suddenly a different person, is that you know better, and then you have to identify it and go, oh, that's happening. I won't do that. So now I've slowed my roll. I still want to make that happen, but I'm not attached to exactly what it needs to look like. And I'm just honoring that I can do what I can every day. Also, if you're in the entertainment industry and this is of interest to you, and you're a videographer or in a production company, whatever it may be, if you're tingling, send me an email. My intention is to put together the right team of people to make this happen. Anyways, I think that's also kind of why this whole story is a little bit full circle, because what I am letting myself do now is take my time and not rush back to coming on YouTube. So this brings us back to the cult debacle, which is that when we were at the center, I started getting messages that this rumor was spreading. And when I first heard about it, I was tickled. I thought it was so funny.
Yeah.
Because I was in a whole other world, like just fucking scratching my bug bites.
Oh God, yeah.
Sitting on a hammock. Like, I was just like, what? I can't. But once I got back to LA, it became serious. Like, my parents were calling me and saying, hey, people are asking us if you've joined a cult. I got an email from Time Magazine asking for a statement on my disappearance. Friends were reaching out to me like, hey, what do I say? People are worried about you. There was a moment where I feel like I wasn't really my highest self, which is that something about people concerned made it feel safer to be gone for longer because I had something to come back to. You know, people were looking for a return and there was safety in that, and that was helping the fear around coming back. But really what was going on, why I didn't just get on Instagram and say, hey, I'm fine, I'm not in a cult, is because I think I needed to prove to myself that I was going to put myself before other people and before work. And what I truly needed, like, I couldn't, as you say, I can't be bothered. I couldn't be bothered to get on Instagram and make an announcement. For me, it wasn't what felt right to get online. I didn't have anything to say yet. And that's why I'm taking my time trying to make this video correctly, because I want to make sure when I say something, I mean it and I'm not just feeling pressured.
You owed it to yourself to actually put yourself first. You've been putting your work first for, 14 years? It's a long time. And look where it got you, into a not a good place. It's serious for your well-being that you had to do what you had to do now, and I'm proud of you for actually seeing that through.
I want to have a different approach to YouTube making videos now. A sentiment that we heard a lot there, and that's said a lot in spiritual communities, is that you can trust the universe to take care of you as long as you're acting in alignment and doing what feels good.
Yeah.
It's not what capitalism teaches. And I've, up until now, been pretty subscribed to the mentality of capitalism. Not that I loved capitalism, but I was like a cog in the machine.
Yeah.
And so I have this sort of great inquiry, and I know that you're exploring that in your life too, which is, can I actually honor my creative whims and do what feels good without pushing myself beyond what is in alignment and be taken care of? Which I realize I'm in a privileged place to even have the opportunity to explore this inquiry.
Yeah.
So for me, that means, no, I'm not gonna make a video every week. I'm gonna make videos when it feels right. And that's kind of scary, but I'm gonna do that because that's what's gonna be for my best interest.
New stuff is scary, and doing things in a different way is scary. There's abrasion there.
Yeah.
And you're working through that.
So join me if you want to see if I can do it. Hi, after editing this video, there are a few things that I want to say. I feel like I have a million different thoughts, but I am going to try to narrow them down. I hope that this video isn't preachy, in your face, obnoxious, the way people can be. People, including myself, I know I can be, when they find something that works for them. Like we said in the video, because there's so much passion, I know that it can come off that way. The truth is, I feel as though I was pretty inauthentic for a while on the internet, or if not inauthentic, I wasn't authentic. And in order to create a healthier relationship with you guys, with this again, it was pretty evident to me that I needed to come forward with honesty, transparency, truth. And this is the truth. This is where I've been. This is what matters to me right now. And my cat is making noise and rubbing up against the tripod. You want to see her? Fine. Oh, look at that. Ooh, there are 100 things I would change about the video that you just watched, but I have come to accept that it will never be perfect, and right now my priority is to just put this out there and move forward with my life. Someone wise said to me recently that we have to let go of outcomes and focus on our intentions and trust that our intentions will guide us, and that's what I'm trying to do right now. Truthfully, I am not sure exactly what type of content is to come from me. I felt silly making a whole announcement around not posting every week because there are people who do that or don't do that and don't bat an eye, but obviously after watching this video you understand that there's a lot more deeper stuff around that. I do want to make content and I want to be experimental with it, with subjects, with formats, so I've created 2 new spaces on the internet for me to do that and relieve a little bit of the pressure around it. Self-imposed pressure, to be fair. I have rebooted a second channel. It is called Alex Weiss. It's literally my name, ALYXWEISS. I had to insert that because I don't know right now. Figuring it out, where I'm going to be more experimental and posting content that's a bit more personal. Link to that channel down below. There will also still be content here. Hello. I've also made a Patreon. I've been offline for so long that I really wanted to create a space that feels like I can show up with ease in a way that I just don't necessarily feel like I can completely on other platforms right now. This is like a little safe community. It feels like wearing a sweater for me. So if you want to get in my sweater, Something like that. Patreon, I will link down below, as well as the second channel. If you do sign up for Patreon, you will get behind the scenes posts from my life. I really don't use social media that much, but I will be posting on here. You will also be getting monthly Q&As, and then the real meat, once a month, an exclusive Patreon only video. I couldn't tell you now what they're gonna be because I'm gonna experiment as we go, and I might ask you guys what you wanna see and then go from there. I am posting a Patreon, the first video today. Throughout this whole video, you saw B-roll of the paintings I did while I was in Peru. And so I walk you page by page through the notebook and talk more about my experience there and what the paintings mean, etc., just as a sort of vehicle of going deeper. Okay, now a disclaimer about the actual master plant dieta / ayahuasca experience. There is no fix-all in life. And this is a lesson that I had to learn because my first go around with ayahuasca, I thought she was gonna just end all of my suffering. That does not, I am not invulnerable to pain and suffering now, but I have been able to clear away a lot of the disillusions around self, around life, around others that were making me make life harder than it needed to be. And now I have a lot more tools that I can use in my day-to-day life. I feel like life is a process of remembering universal truths that we all know and have deep within us no matter what. The plants just sort of help clear the way to seeing those universal truths, and they can, very loudly and evidently show you those universal truths, but you don't need the plants to get there. So there are just so many other ways in to remembering, to feeling peace, to healing, whatever you want to call it. I just think plants are fucking awesome. So they're a huge part, not the only part, but a huge part of my spiritual path. Hi, popping in to, now I have commentary on my commentary. I saw something on the internet last night, which really means I saw it on TikTok, we all know this, that articulated what I was trying to say here, but didn't necessarily have the words at the time. The idea is that when you do a psychedelic, it temporarily dissolves the ego. It shows you something so you know that it exists, and then when you are done with that experience, you start asking yourself, how can I get to that place without psychedelics? Through my experience of doing psychedelics, I later then realized how important it was for me to continue doing all the things that help me find my center, whether that's meditation or yoga. Therefore, you don't need it, but it can help you illuminate the place to which you are striving to move towards on the day-to-day. You know the destination, and so now it's a matter of figuring out how to get there. All right, let's go back to my before. Okay, good. Also, I want to say we did not mention the name of the center we went to in this video, and I am not 100% sure that that's the right move. I don't want to gatekeep healing, especially after singing so many praises to this place, and I want to support this place. I want to support people in their healing journeys. For me, because I really intend to go back and create content that shows, not just tells, what this place is, it feels like then is when I want to reveal that information. And also there's something around me physically going there soon, I guess, that makes me feel dodgy around, or that makes me feel avoidant around sharing it right now. I don't know if that's the right choice. I genuinely don't, but that is the choice that I'm making right now, and I'm willing to be wrong. If you are interested in learning more, this is not the last time you're going to hear me talk about this center. I will be sharing more as time goes on. And if you want to jump into your own journey immediately, there are tons of different places in Peru that you can research online. You can look on Reddit, Advisors, Trip Advisors. It's legal in Peru, so there's just information everywhere on the internet if you look. Okay, that is everything. I think. Probably not. I'm going to think of 45 other things after I turn the camera off, but at some point I just have to call it quits. I gotta cut myself off. Thank you for watching this whole ass video. You really came along for the journey. I love that for you and for me, for us. This feels good. Nice. I, again, don't know exactly what's coming next. I will be posting on here. I just don't know exactly when or how consistently. If you want to stay tuned with what I'm doing, make sure to subscribe to my second channel, link down below, and my Patreon, link down below. I will see you here, there, wherever. Thank you again, and adios. Bye. Mwah.